Hey guys, it's Charlene. Today I'm going to share with you different ways to do partial die cutting. So I have here the Go Wild stamps and dies from the new Pink and Main release, and these are great. These are silhouette style, but you can do lots of fun things with them. And I have an 8.5 by 5.5 sheet of cardstock. So I'm going to start out by picking one of these stamps that I know I can fit 3 along the edge of this piece of cardstock. So I'm going to grab our little fox. Here I have my original size Misty, and I'm going to put this into the corner, and I'm going to bring in a piece of acetate that has grid lines, which makes it really easy to line everything up, because I want to have 3 foxes along this edge, and I want them to be in equal spacing. Once I'm happy with my placement, I can go ahead and pick up my fox and just pull off my transparency here and set that aside to be used later. Today I'm using some pigment ink. This is Warm Breeze VersaFine Clair. So I'm going to go ahead and ink up our sweet little fox here. Get a good amount on there, and then I can close this and stamp and lift. And I am going to go ahead and just do another light little stamping so I can make sure to build up that color. So pretty. Now I can bring my transparency back in here, and this will make it so that I can line up my fox in the next spot without having to worry about getting potentially any ink onto the piece of cardstock. Again, once he is lined up, I'll go ahead and pick him up, ink up our stamp, and go ahead and flip and press and lift. And I'm gonna build up that color a little bit more, make it a little darker by doing a second stamping again. There we go. I've lined up our fox in the top area, and I'm going to go ahead and remove my transparency and stamp our third fox. This works particularly well with repeating stamps, this technique, but you also could do several small different critters. And so I'll stamp that twice. And now we have 3 pretty foxes that go right along the edge. Now I have my scoreboard here, and for this technique, this is actually going to be the inside of our card, and this is going to fold over. So I'm actually going to go ahead and score it on the other side, because this is going to give me a cleaner fold. So I'll score this at 4¼ inches. And then I can come in and fold this over. Now you can see here inside we have our 3 foxes. Now I'm going to trim some of this off with my paper trimmer. I want the edge of my card to run right along where the fox's nose is. So I'm going to go ahead and measure approximately how far that is. And I can see it's about 7/8 of an inch from the edge. So I'm going to trim about 7/8 of an inch off from this front flap. So this is about 7/8 of an inch. So I'm going to trim that off and close it. And you can see that cut line comes to essentially the nose of the fox. Now you could leave this front part white and just move forward to the partial die cutting, but I'm going to put a piece of pattern paper on there that goes well with our little fox. This is the Great Outdoors pattern paper pack, and I liked this paper. It has kind of that same tone that we used for the ink, so I'm going to use that one. I cut this piece down to about 3⅛ inches by 5¼ inches, so it'll give us about 1/8 of an inch border all the way around our front flap. So I'm just adding some liquid glue to the back here, and then I can line it up, and we'll have this nice little white border going all the way around that flap. Now we can bring in the coordinating die, and we can do our partial die cutting. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our die and we're going to line it up around this portion of the fox. Once our die is lined up around that portion of the fox, I'm going to tape it only to this front flap. So you can see it's hanging off the edge here. Now I can run this through my die cutting machine and it's just going to cut out that edge of the front. Now I don't need to run this all the way through my machine and potentially mark up my paper. So I'm just gonna go ahead and run it through until it cuts and then run it back. So now I can carefully remove the tape and it's just going to take off that inset piece and show us our fun fox. I'm going to repeat this with the other two. And now all three of our foxes are showing. So I'm going to trim these excess bits off and you can see now it's a little bit smoother along that edge and I like it better. I'm a big fan of word dies and I really like this hello. This is in the Card Cut Essentials die set 1. I've been using this quite a bit, so I'm going to pull this out. I cut 2 of the hellos from white cardstock and layered them together with glue, and then I've added glue to the back, and I'm going to bring it in, and I'm going to have it run right along the same pathway that these plaid lines are going. For a little bit of added bling, I've brought in some Snowfall Confetti. Here's our finished first card with the partial die cutting where we have our fun foxes on the inside. It looks very cute. For the second way to do partial die cutting, I'm going to be using the elephant from the same stamp set. And I have a piece of 8.5 by 5.5 inch cardstock here. Only this time where I place my stamp is going to be quite different. So I'm going to bring it up about just a little more than 1/4 of an inch from the bottom. And then I'll pick it up. And I'm going to do the same thing we did with the first card with 3 stampings, only this time I'm going to do it in purple, blue, and purple. So I'll do that. And you can see I moved my paper, shifted it over slightly so I could make sure to get this last elephant on there. And the reason I did that is because all 3 of the elephants wouldn't quite fit across my card and I knew that I wanted to get all 3 of their trunks on there. So this time the part that I'm wanting to get rid of is the bottom area around the elephants because we're going to create our partial die cutting right along there. So I'll go ahead and get my die cut here for the elephant and I'm going to attach it with some low tack tape. And then for this, I'm only going to cut to the leaf. So I'm gonna line up my plate right across the bottom. And the only places that are gonna cut are where the plate is covering the die. So we can remove the die cut and you can see this is cut all the way along the elephants except for this last little edge there. So all I need to do is bring in some scissors or you can use a X-Acto knife, whatever works best for you. Next, I can go ahead and score this on the side where there's no stamping. And I'm going to score this at 4 1/4 inches. So now when we fold this over, our elephants are going to be over the top of the inside of our card. I've got a 1.5 inch strip of this light blue cardstock and I'm going to go ahead and glue this to the inside of the card. This just creates an extra element because you're going to see that nice bright pop of the light blue from underneath the elephant's feet. And then for the sentiment, I cut out 2 of the hello again in white cardstock. I'm going to add some glue to the back and then I will adhere this to a vellum shadow layer that I cut out. Once that's dried a little bit, I can go ahead and add some glue on the back of the vellum just where my letters are, so that way we won't see any of the glue once we adhere this to the card. Okay, I'm going to adhere this so that we can still see the elephant's feet, and I still want to be able to see the elephant's eyes as well. Put an acrylic block on there while that's drying. Lastly, I'll add a few pieces here of the Snowfall Confetti to give us a little bit of bling. Here is our second partial die cutting card. You can see this is really fun with that pop of color at the bottom. And here is the first one we created, and you can see the difference between the two styles. There's a few other items I didn't get a chance to use that go together really well with these stamps and this cardstock. And that is the Wild About You Sentiments Foilables panels. So lots of different sentiments that go really well with all those animals that can be foiled, as well as the Birch Trees foilable panels. So you have the positive and the negative in those. And then also the Go Wild foilable sheets. These are really fun. You can use the dies that go with the stamps to cut these out as well, I believe. And you've got all of those beautiful animals that you can also foil with your different cheer foils. All right, guys, I hope that you picked up some tips and tricks today. Please be sure to like and subscribe, as well as hit that notification bell so that I can continue to bring you more crafty content in the future. Until next time, happy crafting.